Upon learning that my soldier husband had a beloved yet unattainable white moonlight, I voluntarily applied to deregister my household registration and joined a top-secret national research program. Before leaving, I decided to get along well with Blakey and become the perfect wife he desired. On the 7th day before my departure, he asked me to vacate the master bedroom of our marital home for his white moonlight, and I willingly moved to the secondary bedroom to make space. The 6th day from the end, he let me get drenched in the rain just to pick up his white moonlight, so I tactfully got out of the car to avoid delaying his heroic rescue of the beauty. The 5th day from the end, he went to accompany his sick white moonlight instead of watching the movie with me as planned. So I decided to leave early and completely step aside for them. When he realized I had disappeared, he panicked and rushed to report it to the police, causing a huge uproar throughout the city. But the police said, "There is no such person as Zara Zhuang. Your marital status is still listed as unmarried. This top-secret mission will commence in 1 week. At that time, we will erase all your information, and even your family must keep it confidential. It will be as if Zara Zhuang never existed in this world. Zara Zhuang, won't you miss your husband and son?" Even the director was stunned for a long time after receiving my application. Especially since I had always valued my family above all else, I remained silent for a long while. They already have the people they care about by their side. I believe the country needs me more. It's only because Blakey is the youngest Special Forces battalion commander in the Southeast Military Region. As a military family member, I willingly gave up my research career, content to be the support system for his family. But it wasn't until later that I found out he had another woman outside whom he spoiled beyond measure. Before signing the confirmation, I asked, "What about my marital relationship with Blakey?" The director coughed awkwardly twice. "It will also be automatically cancelled. I suppose you." Hearing this, I didn't hesitate for a moment. "In that case, I voluntarily joined the Chilean plan. I will report on time in a week." Seeing my resolute attitude, the director was moved to tears. "Comrade Zara Zhuang, thank you for your sacrifice for the country. We warmly welcome you to join us. 1 more week, I will no longer be anyone's wife, anyone's mother. I only allow them to have me for 1 more week." Disappearing for a day without reason, aside from a few messages urging me to cook. No one in my phone bothered to check on me. The night wind chilled me to the bone, but when I pushed the door open, the warmth inside was blindingly cozy. Sky Tian was holding our son while playing with paper cuttings. With hatred in his eyes, our son cut my photo out of the family portrait and thoughtfully pasted Sky Tian's in its place. My photo, torn into countless pieces, lay scattered across the floor. Blakey's silence could be considered tacit approval. He, who always carried a stern and imposing aura, now showed a rare moment of relaxation, leaning back on the sofa with his legs crossed, broad-shouldered and long-limbed. His tall, lean figure was as sharply defined as if carved by a howling cold wind. He gazed at Sky Tian and the other person with a gentleness he had never shown me, occasionally responding to them, holding the house key. I feel like an intruder who has mistakenly entered someone else's happy family. When was the last time he came home? 3 months ago, 5 months ago. If I can't remember, I won't dwell on it. After all, this marriage was forced from the start. Back when Blakey's father was in danger while carrying out a mission at the border, my parents, who lived there, used their own flesh and blood to save his father's life. At the babbling age, I became an orphaned girl. His father immediately declared, "Zara Zhuang will be the future daughter-in-law of the He family, and our family will be responsible for Zara Zhuang for life." Having lost both parents and coming from a poor background, I knew I wasn't worthy of the He family. A distinguished military lineage. Coincidentally, Blakey was injured during a mission and was on the verge of death due to the lack of a suitable kidney donor. As the only match, I unhesitatingly donated my kidney to him, even though he repeatedly objected. He insisted that Blakey marry me. Little did I know that after marriage, Blakey avoided me like the plague, and his relationship with father he dropped to a freezing point. I originally thought that someone like him was just cold by nature. It turned out that while I was suffering from the aftereffects on the sickbed, Blakey gradually developed feelings for the military doctor Sky Tien who was taking care of him, and they privately pledged to spend their lives together. It was my own wishful thinking to donate a kidney, which ended up ruining their happiness. Looking at the forcibly pieced together family photo, Sky Tien suddenly showed a sorrowful expression in her eyes. It's just a pity that having a home is nothing but a luxury for me. During this vacation, I don't even have a place to stay. She had always been good at playing the victim. Sky Tien lost both parents at a young age. Back then, she sought help everywhere, hoping kind-hearted people would support her education. I, who shared the same hardship, worked odd jobs to persistently support her through college, which also led her to meet Blakey. Sky Tien once tearfully told me that she would definitely repay me properly. Her way of repaying me was to follow Blakey to his military unit after graduation, becoming a military doctor and staying by his side day and night. In the military unit, Sky Tien spread rumors everywhere, claiming that my charity was fake, my financial support was untimely, and I was stingy, an orphan girl who flaunts herself as the esteemed eldest daughter of the He family. Utterly vain. Blakey grew even more disgusted with me because of this and moved out immediately after we married. After a drunken night resulted in a son, he became even more devoted to Sky Tien. Wary of my every approach, Sky Tien felt wronged, and Blakey, naturally distressed, quickly suggested that she could stay at my place temporarily. Sky Tien didn't stand on ceremony either, pointing toward my bedroom as if she had prepared in advance. I think that room is quite good. Following the direction of her finger, Blakey frowned slightly but quickly relaxed. It's not entirely impossible. My son, whom I raised single-handedly, clapped and cheered. Yay, yay, it would be even better if Aunt Sky could be my mom. An impatient tone, as if wishing I would move out immediately. Blakey wore a faint smile, seemingly helpless yet content as he patted his son's head. The sound of keys being set down accidentally broke the warm moment I had interrupted. The son quickly covered the family photo on the table, while Blakey resumed his usual cold and indifferent expression. I knew they were waiting for me to fly into a rage. After all, I had cried and made a scene countless times over Sky Tien's lack of boundaries. Honestly, it's quite pointless. I indifferently averted my gaze, not bothering to care. I poured a glass of water and gulped it down in one go, as if nothing had happened. Blakey was stunned for a moment and, unusually, initiated a conversation with me. Are you hungry? I'll make you a bowl of noodles. If it were before, I would have scrambled down the steps the moment he offered them, especially since I had been craving his cooking for a long time, but I knew it all too well. Words that seemed caring were actually an attempt to change the subject. Afraid that I would confront Sky Tien, I didn't want to respond at first, but Blakey's gaze was too sharp, as if he would stare right through me if I ignored him. I'm not hungry, I just had a drink earlier. Clearly, Sky Tien failed to grasp Blakey's well-intentioned efforts and stood up with a hint of jealousy. I should go now. The child immediately clung to Sky Tien's leg, crying loudly, Mom is bad, you drove Aunt Sky away as soon as you came back. Mom should get out instead. I want Aunt Sky to stay. A lump of anger stuck in my chest, unable to rise or fall. Blakey reluctantly picked up the car keys, seemingly unwilling to let Sky Tien leave either. Look, I'm the one who's actually the extra person here, but it's okay. In just one more week, I won't be in their way at all. Letting out the heavy breath in my chest, I forced a faint smile. Since everyone wants you to stay, then don't leave. From now on, you can live in my room. Sky Tien looked at me in astonishment, and even the usually composed Blakey had a hint of shock in his gaze. Only our son remained oblivious, turning his tears into laughter. Really? Yay, that's great. Blakey's eyes flickered with emotion, and he quickly spoke up before Sky Tien could make a move. No need, Sky will be back after her vacation. I'll just find a hotel for her. No need to trouble you. After 7 years of marriage, I still feel like I've never truly understood Blakey. Logically, with Sky Tien staying here, they would be closer, so he should have eagerly agreed. Even Sky Tien felt wronged by Blakey's unusual behavior, a tear on the verge of falling. At this moment, Blakey's attention was rarely not on Sky Tien. His gaze remained fixed on me. It seemed he had finally noticed my unusual state. Facing his gaze, I smiled calmly. It's no trouble. I've taken on a job, so I won't be using this room anymore. A trace of annoyance clouded Blake's deep-set eyes. Oh, where are you going to work part-time this time? His son muttered under his breath. Clearly displeased. You can only cook and mop the floor at home, not even earning $3,000 a month. If you hadn't married my dad, could you have lived such a good life? My heart felt as if it had been drenched in lemon water, sour and crumpled. Father, he was rarely home. And the He family had long stopped providing for my tuition and living expenses. Relying on my own rough hands, I stubbornly worked odd jobs to get into the School of Mathematical Sciences at Peking University. The He family knew nothing about these matters. After 7 years of marriage, Blakey was so distant from me that he didn't even know what I did for a living. Throughout the 10 months of pregnancy, including giving birth, I went to the hospital alone, holding my belly. During the difficult delivery, I almost died on the delivery bed, and I had to force myself to sign my own critical condition notice. I gave up a generous salary and chose a leisurely job within the team. All for the sake of raising my son healthily, but my son called me a parasite. If it were in the past, I would have poured out my grievances to seek that insignificant bit of attention. But now, I just calmly said, no, I'm planning to participate in. Before she could finish speaking, Sky Tian suddenly furrowed her brows in pain, clutching her stomach in agony. Somehow, my stomach suddenly hurt so much. Blakey immediately shifted his gaze away from me and knelt on one knee to examine Sky Tian's abdomen, his expression filled with urgency. Does it hurt here, or here? The son, who used to be waited on hand and foot at mealtimes, swiftly poured a cup of hot water and handed it to Sky Tian. Aunt Sky, would some hot water make you feel better? The scene before me, of being surrounded and cared for by family, was a dream I could never reach in my lifetime. So it turns out they are capable of caring for others. They just don't care about me. I remember this summer was especially sweltering. After finishing cooking alone, I collapsed onto the living room floor. My son glanced at me disdainfully before continuing to eat with his head down. By the time I woke up, it was already afternoon, and the dim sunset cast a particularly desolate glow in the living room. My son was curled up in the bedroom playing games. With the remnants of a hastily finished meal left on the table, a week after their wedding anniversary, Blakey still said he was too busy to come home. My mother-in-law took our son to his extracurricular class. I specially prepared many of his favorite dishes, planning to bring them to the military base to surprise him. The guard said he had already gone back to be with his lover. Obviously, that lover is not me. I found out about Blakey's whereabouts from a video on Sky Tian's social media feed. At the amusement park, Sky Tian wore a playful Mickey Mouse headband and held her son tightly in her arms. The son took Blakey's hand and gave Sky Tian a kiss on the cheek. From behind the screen came the mother-in-law's voice. Give each other a hug, you two. Blakey pursed his thin lips hesitantly, but in the end, he smiled faintly and pulled Sky Tian into his arms. By the time I rushed to the amusement park, I happened to run into them coming out, looking very pleased. I hid behind a tree, just a few steps away from Blakey. Even over the phone, I could hear my son's noisy screams and Sky Tian's sickly sweet laughter. How I wished Blakey would tell the truth at that moment, instead of lying. But he said, new recruit training, still busy. I bit my lip until it bled, and gripping the phone, I replied, okay, the world is full of illusions. Only pain never lies. I told myself it would pass. I'm not sad, not at all. Without Blakey having to condescend to drive me away, I tactfully went to the guest bedroom myself. Sky Tian happily went to the master bedroom, and our son even insisted on sleeping with her. It seems even if I leave, my son will still be very happy. That's good. The next day, Mother He finally returned from her trip, bringing back many souvenirs. There were some for her son, some for Blakey, and even some for Sky Tian. I stood there at a loss, wondering how I should later express my gratitude for his kindness, but when all the gifts had been distributed, she just shot me a dissatisfied glare. Hurry up and cook. I've been craving your cooking since I was out. I just can't get used to eating outside. Her tone was exactly like ordering around a servant, and in fact, that's what it was. Instead, Sky Tian, an outsider, embraced his mother like a daughter-in-law, kissing her on the cheek. "Auntie, you're so kind." His mother gently patted Sky Tian's hand, looking at her with immense satisfaction. "In the future, we'll have to rely on you to take good care of my son in the military. When people feel awkward, they really do tend to look around everywhere." As I turned my head, I happened to meet Blake's gaze, which seemed to carry an unusual emotion. He glanced at my empty hands and slowly walked toward me with a gift. Is he planning to give it to me out of pity? The hand had just reached in front of me when Sky Tian pounced over and snatched the gift from Blake's hand, her eyes sparkling. "Wow, I really like this one too. Can you give it to me?" Blakey froze for a moment and glanced at me. Under Sky Tian's hopeful gaze, he finally nodded. Okay, taking the gift." Sky Tian looked at me with a triumphant expression in her eyes. My thoughts were in disarray when Mother He suddenly shoved me. "What are you standing there for? Go cook." "Don't tell me you're expecting me to do it." Rubbing my slightly sore chest, I said casually, "In the days when I'm not around, you'll have to learn to cook for yourselves from now on. My son just thinks I'm putting on an act and scoffs at me." "Later, you say that as if you're about to die, to be precise." "It's more like I'm already dead. But seeing them as a happy family, it seems like my presence or absence doesn't really make a difference. Consider it the last meal I'll make for them." I deftly put on the apron and turned to enter the kitchen. Sky Tian followed closely behind, looking extremely diligent and eager to help. "Sister, let me help you." Mother He pulled her over with a look of reproach. "You're a military doctor, a servant of the state, not someone destined to serve others your whole life." After saying this, she even shot me a glare. I knew she was mocking me for not being as good as Sky Tian. If she came to help, all three of us would end up unhappy. Why would I go looking for trouble? The green pepper and pork stir-fry in the pot was steaming hot, and suddenly my vision began to spin in the rising mist. The feeling of weightlessness made me lose my bearings, and I started to fall toward the floor. Blakey had been standing behind me at some point and caught me in his arms. I wasn't sure if it was my imagination, but I saw his brows deeply furrowed, his eyes filled with a mix of distress and panic. "Are you okay? Do you need help?" His sturdy muscles pressed against me, hot and burning. Using the strength of his arm, I barely managed to stand up straight and hastily pulled myself out of his embrace. "Mrs." He dashed into the kitchen as if guarding against a thief, positioning herself between the two of us. As soon as I got back, I could tell she was just being lazy and didn't want to cook, putting on an act. Just as I was about to explain, Sky Tian came running over to pull Blakey along, beaming with a smile. "Come and see the family portrait our son drew. It looks quite impressive." The spatula flipped in the pan, but no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't shake the image of the four-person family portrait our son had drawn from my mind. There is Blakey, there is him, there is Mother He, and there is Sky Tian. By the time I sat down at the table, the four of them were peacefully taking turns serving themselves from the dishes. Only leftovers remained on the table, and as the one who cooked, I picked up my chopsticks but didn't know what to pick up. Mother He, having eaten and drunk her fill, exchanged a glance with Sky Tian, then straightened her posture. "Zara Zhuang, there are some things I have to make clear to you." She took out 2 items. One was the divorce agreement between me and Blakey. The other was a bank card with 10,000 yuan in it. "You know as well as I do that there's a huge disparity in status between you and my son, and your job is nothing to be proud of. Now that my son has found true love, my grandson doesn't like you either, and I've long been dissatisfied with you." Hearing this, I understood everything. I turned to look at Blakey. His eyes were lowered, and beneath his long eyelashes, no particular emotion could be discerned. My heart sank completely. The Chilean project was about to launch. It was time to bring everything to an end. I put down my chopsticks. "Perfect. I also have something to say to you." Mother He immediately raised her hand impatiently to stop me. "No need to say all that pestering talk, let me speak first." She pushed the divorce agreement and the bank card in front of me. "Back then, your parents risked their lives to save Blake's father. We are very grateful to you. But we have raised you with the utmost care. This debt of gratitude should be considered repaid by now. Donating a kidney to my son was your own choice. It can't be called a sacrifice." Besides, my son even lowered himself to marry you. We don't ask you to repay our kindness, we only beg you to let go of my son. If that's what it takes, I'll kneel before you." After saying that, she made a move to kneel, determined to force me to sign the divorce agreement. I mercilessly exposed her pretense. "There's no need to put on an act, I'll sign it." As Blake's eyes slowly widened, I picked up the pen without hesitation. The moment I signed my name, I even felt a sense of relief. Finally, I no longer had to bear the blame for abandoning the marriage. At last, it was over. My son raised his hands high, overjoyed. "Yay, I can finally get a new mom." Sky Tian was so excited that, without a second thought, she immediately wanted to take Blake's hand and fly away together. "This marriage cannot be dissolved." He deliberately turned away to avoid Sky Tian's touch and reached out to snatch the divorce agreement. Amid the astonished gazes of everyone, the agreement crumpled, tore, and turned into fragments that scattered across the room. "Brother Blake, what are you doing?" Sky Tian's face flushed bright red as she covered it and ran toward the bedroom. "Mother," he slammed the table in fury, "have you lost your mind? Isn't this what you've always wanted?" He said with a dark expression. After a long pause, "I'm at a critical point in my career right now. If we get divorced, what will my superiors think of me? What will they think of Sky?" I thought he genuinely didn't want to get divorced. In the end, it's all about protecting Sky Tian's reputation. Let him be. Actually, even if I don't sign this agreement, it will automatically be cancelled once I leave. Amid the noise, I went out alone. I took a taxi to the traditional Chinese medicine clinic I often visit, as I frequently come here to buy medicine for his father. Ever since he was injured, his chest aches sharply whenever it's windy or rainy. I've consulted all the relevant experts, and only the herbal medicine from this place has proven especially effective. I always prepare some in advance for him to take back to the military camp before he goes on leave and comes home. Every time, he would affectionately stroke my head with a look of adoration overflowing from his eyes. "Zara, what would this family do without you?" "Father," he treated me extremely well, dividing his monthly salary into 3 parts, one portion for the family, one for me, and one to be saved. But the portion that belonged to me was withheld by his mother very early on. While others were enjoying family affection by their parents' side, I was at the construction site, grinding the calluses on my hands until they broke. But I didn't want to cause any more trouble for his father, so I lived frugally and managed to finish my studies. This time, I instructed the doctor to write down the prescription, so that when I'm no longer around, they can still use this prescription to get medicine for his father. After buying the medicine, I felt a bit idle and decided to stroll into a shopping mall. As I passed by a cosmetics counter, the mirror happened to reflect my weary face. The gloomy expression completely overshadowed the delicate and well-defined facial features. If my parents hadn't passed away, I would still be the treasure they held in their palms, and I probably wouldn't have wasted away to this state. The clerk inside smiled and came forward. "What would you like to buy?" I shook my head in a daze. "I don't understand these things." "It's okay, you can come and try the makeup even if you're not buying." She pulled me to sit down, picked up a bunch of things I didn't understand, and started applying them to my face. In the mirror, I gradually transformed, slowly taking on a new appearance, so dazzling, with no trace of the wear and tear of time left. "You look so beautiful. Women really need to love themselves more. I'm not trying to make you spend money here, but you really are very pretty. It's a shame not to dress up a bit." "Yes, if I don't even love myself, how can I expect anyone else to cherish me?" Not wanting the shop assistant to have worked in vain, I bought a lipstick and left. I've been wearing the same clothes for years, so when I start a new job, I always need to buy some new outfits. After putting on the trendy clothes, I truly didn't recognize myself in the mirror. My mood improved a lot, and I walked out of the mall feeling fully satisfied. The sky was gloomy, with dark clouds looming so close they looked like thick, swirling smoke. The crowd was bustling, with some people laughing and others rushing about. He was too dazzling. In the bustling crowd, he immediately caught my eye. He was wearing a black trench coat, standing upright as he leaned against the car door, a cigarette held between his fingers. Just by standing there, he effortlessly drew the attention of many passers-by. When he first saw me, he hesitated for a long time before daring to recognize me. The man who had been so arrogant just moments ago quickly stamped out his cigarette and paused for a moment. I saw that it was about to rain soon, so I came to pick you up. It sounded like an explanation, as if he was afraid I might develop inappropriate thoughts about his sudden concern. He might as well have spared the explanation. For some unknown reason, a faint blush crept up to the tips of Blake's ears. After a long silence, he finally spoke. "You look quite beautiful today." After pouring his heart and soul into this family for so many years, he had never once spared a glance, yet now he did not hesitate to offer praise. However, there was no longer any ripple in my heart, and I smiled politely. "Thank you. Get in the car, I'll give you a ride." This was the first time I had ever ridden in his car, and it would also be the last. Opening the passenger door, what caught my eye was a row of Mickey Mouse dolls that Sky Tien liked. And the passenger seat was even labeled reserved for the little cutie. I tactfully turned around and prepared to get into the back seat. Blakey frantically threw all the dolls into the back seat and swiftly tore off the stickers. "Sky is young and loves to play around. I won't let her do this again in the future." He reached out and patted the passenger seat, speaking in a tone that brooked no refusal. "Sit here." I didn't plan to waste any more words, so I bent down and got in. As soon as I settled in, he suddenly leaned over, his arm crossing in front of my chest, encircling me in a half embrace. The faint scent of tobacco grew closer as he reached for the seatbelt at my waist. I don't know if it was nervousness or something else, but I could clearly feel his body trembling. And he couldn't align it with the socket for a long time. I sighed and took over, plugging it in. "I can do it myself." He responded faintly. The heavy rain came suddenly with a pitter-patter, and the street scene began to blur. I had never sat alone with him in such an enclosed space. I could even smell his clean, crisp scent, carrying the stern and solemn aura unique to a soldier. He glanced at me from time to time, and finally couldn't resist breaking the silence. "What did you buy?" I realized belatedly and put down the medicine I was holding in my arms. "Oh, it's the Chinese medicine I bought for your dad, and here's the prescription. I'll put it in the glove compartment. From now on, you'll be in charge of buying the medicine." The car suddenly came to an abrupt stop. Blakey stared straight ahead, his hands gripping the steering wheel tightly. His voice was hoarse. "Why does this feel like I'm delivering my last words? Disappearing from this world could be considered a kind of last words. After all, actually, you don't have to bear it all alone. You can share it with me. Let me help you carry the burden." He turned his head, his deep and inscrutable gaze flickering between clarity and shadow. "Sharing the burden for me. It must be the heavy rain that made me mishear." "Zara Zhuang, I responded faintly. "Let's talk." But I had nothing left to say. I didn't respond. Leaning my head against the car window and closing my eyes to rest, the noisy sound of the rain amplified the silence between us. I was woken up by Blake's phone ringtone. Even through the screen, I could hear Sky Tien's noisy voice. "It's raining so hard, I'm stuck here. What should I do?" "Blake, I'm going to catch a cold." Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed Blake. He was also checking to see if I was awake. "I'm not available right now. You should take a taxi first." "Damn, I can't get a ride at all right now." "Whatever, I'll just have to get wet in the rain." After hanging up the phone, Blake felt restless and even ran a red light by mistake because of it. I don't want to die in his car before I've even contributed to the country, so I finally broke the silence first. "It's fine. Just drop me off here. You go pick her up. It's not far anyway. I can just walk back myself." Such heavy rain. Blake's face showed hesitation, but he finally made a decision. "How about this? There's a bus stop ahead. Wait for me there, and I'll come pick you up in a bit." As soon as the car door closed, the vehicle sped off and disappeared into the curtain of rain. I didn't look back again, ran to the nearby convenience store to buy an umbrella, and went back alone. See, actually one can take care of oneself alone. After returning, I started packing my luggage. It seems I don't need a week at all. I can leave right now, however, after walking around the house. Traces of them are everywhere. It seems like nothing here belongs to me. Finally, I found my marriage certificate with Blake. He tucked away under layers of plastic bags at the bottom of the cabinet. It shows how much I cherished it back then. In the photo, I have a silly grin on my face, while Blakey looks miserable. The only memory left is such an unpleasant one. The family photo with me in it has already been torn up by my son. I lit a lighter and watched as the photo of Blakey and me on our marriage certificate gradually turned to ashes in the flames. From then on, even when they thought of me, they couldn't find a single trace that belonged to me. It's really nice that we're both at ease. Soon, I heard movement coming from the living room, mixed with Sky Tien's sweet, delicate voice. "Brother Blake, you're so good to me. You always show up by my side right away." I've long grown accustomed to their public displays of affection. But this time, Blakey said, "You're our guest, it's only right." The living room fell silent. A moment later, Blakey came knocking on my door. I ignored him, pulled the blanket tighter, annoyed that he had disturbed my sweet dream. The next morning, there was a message from Blakey on my phone, sent at 3 in the morning. "I was wrong yesterday. I bought 2 movie tickets. Let's go watch a movie together." After so many years of marriage, the little romantic gestures he and Sky Tien often shared were never extended to me. This was the first time he took the initiative to invite me to watch a movie. I thought, since I was about to leave, I should at least let him know. By the time the movie ended, it would be time for us to part ways as well. But when the movie actually ended, Blakey still hadn't shown up. Every time I take it seriously, every time I learn a lesson, every time I end up disappointed, it wasn't until all the staff had left work that Blakey finally sent a message. "Sky got caught in the rain yesterday and is sick today, so I accompanied her to the hospital. Let's do it tomorrow. I'll take 2 more days off to spend some proper time with you, but we have no tomorrow." Whenever Sky Tien appears, he always chooses her without hesitation. Even though this time he was the one who asked me out, I had already anticipated this scene. So I informed the director in advance to come pick me up. When I got home, no one was there. They had all rushed to the hospital to accompany Sky Tien. No one managed to say that goodbye. I didn't take anything with me, only changed into the new clothes I had bought and tidied myself up properly. The car slowly pulled up, and the director came to greet me with a worried look on his face. As if unable to bear it, he asked me, "Zara Zhuang, I'm giving you one last chance. Are you sure you want to completely cut ties with your family and devote yourself to scientific research from now on?" I had already made this choice in my previous life. Back then, I chose family and became a housewife without any regrets. Time flies, and Blakey grows increasingly weary of me. When the burdens of life broke my health, he forced me to divorce, and even my son looked down on me for being useless. I watched helplessly as Blakey and Sky Tien got together, and it made me so angry I could spit blood. Lying in bed with only a breath left in me, Blakey married Sky Tien in a grand wedding. My son's face was full of mockery and disdain. "You should have died long ago, wasting so many years of my dad and Sky's mom's lives." After learning the news of my death, my father, who had been kept in the dark for so long, coughed up blood in anger and died in front of my small grave mound. "In this life, I will never repeat the same mistakes again. Blakey, this time it's me who doesn't want you anymore." I looked at the director with a resolute gaze. "Please trust my determination. I will dedicate my life to the country without any regrets." The director's eyes welled up with tears as he held my hand. "Comrade Zara Zhuang, no, your codename is now Red Eagle. Welcome to Project Chelene. You are one of us now." The moment I got into the car, I was completely cut off from their world. The car drove for a long time, passing through brightly lit skyscrapers and bustling crowds. We passed by mountains and streams, eventually disappearing deep into the vast wilderness. From now on, we part ways with mutual understanding, each living well without disturbing the other. The entire He family was busy taking care of Sky Tien. By the time they returned, it was already evening. Several days later. In the past, I would always wait for them to come home, preparing hot meals. This time, he knocked on the door for a long time, but no one answered. She cursed angrily. "That lazybones, going to bed so early, knocked for so long and still won't open the door." Several people outside the door were so cold they kept stomping their feet, and it took a long time before the locksmith finally arrived. When they pushed the door open, the house was cold and deserted. They looked the same when they left as they do now. The unwashed dishes lay quietly in the sink, covered in a layer of mold. The son cried out in hunger, "Why hasn't Mom cooked? I don't want takeout anymore. I want to eat Mom's cooking." Mother, he felt heartbroken and started scolding again. Where the hell has Zara Zhuang gone? She didn't even make dinner. How dare she defy the heavens? A faint unease began to stir in Blake's heart. Wiping a finger across the dust on the windowsill, it was clear no one had been home for days. Thick fear enveloped him like the night, and he finally remembered, "I made plans to watch a movie with her, but I completely forgot. I hope she's not angry." He searched the entire house several times, even rummaging through the storage room, but couldn't find any trace of me. Sky Tian pouted and poked at her fingers in frustration. "Maybe big sister got angry that you were all spending time with me and ran away from home." Mother, he opened the drawer, threw my ID card on the table, and said with a firm tone, "All her documents are at home. How could she have run away? Does she even have the ability? Besides, she doesn't even have a family to go back to. Where could she possibly go?" Blakey held the phone and dialed my number, but his heart gradually tightened, until my phone rang in the guest bedroom. Everything was there, except I wasn't. The child was already starving, clutching his stomach and crying, "No, I want to eat." Mother, he gave an awkward smile and looked at Sky Tian. "Would you like to try my cooking today?" Sky Tian had grown accustomed to my pampering over the years. Though she was extremely reluctant, she soon smiled, "Of course." She then turned around with a grumbling expression and poured half a bag of salt into the dish while cooking, fiercely saying, "I'm going to be your daughter-in-law, not your housekeeper." This masterpiece was spat out by her son after just one bite, while Mother, he rinsed her mouth repeatedly from the overwhelming saltiness. Sky Tian blinked her watery eyes. "My cooking really isn't good." Mother, he saw the situation clearly but couldn't say anything. A Rashomon scene at the dining table. With only Blake, he sitting alone on the sofa, he seemed preoccupied, staring blankly at the last message I sent, occasionally going to the door to look out. For a day or two, they managed to maintain a superficial harmony. Gradually, even his mother wanted to find me and bring me back as soon as possible. The troops had long been urging Blake to return to his unit, but he would rather defy orders and wait for me to return in person. Finally, the family could no longer sit still and went to the police station to file a report. "Officer, I suspect my wife has been kidnapped." Blake, he, flustered and anxious, placed his last hope in the police. The police asked him about my name, height, age, appearance, and workplace. Blake, he hemmed and hawed for a long time before realizing that, apart from my name, he knew nothing else about me. Even the police were speechless. "You were so frantic about finding your wife. I thought you really cared. But you don't even know these basic details." Blake, he flushed red, finally remembering to take out that marriage certificate. The police officer searched through the system and then gave Blakey a strange look. "Is this certificate fake? There's no one named Zara Zhuang. Look carefully, it clearly bears the official seal. Zara Zhuang is my wife." Blakey lost all his former dignity and shouted anxiously, "But your marital status is listed as single." After saying this, the police officer turned to his mother and advised, "Perhaps he's under too much mental stress. I suggest taking him to see a psychiatrist." With that one sentence, everyone fell silent. It can't be that everyone is hallucinating, imagining a person named Zara Zhuang out of thin air. Blakey froze in place, his usually upright posture suddenly going limp. His son was standing right here, real and tangible, yet this marriage seemed to have turned into nothing but a dream for him. It was as if Zara Zhuang had never truly existed. Mother, he thought for a moment, and her eyes suddenly lit up. "This is perfect. It even saves you the trouble of getting a divorce. You should hurry up and hold the wedding with Sky. You two can still count as a first marriage." Sky Tian shyly twisted the corner of her clothes with her fingers. "It doesn't have to be too extravagant. As long as I can be with Brother Blake, I'm willing to do anything." "When did I ever say I was going to marry Sky Tian?" Blake, he interrupted coldly. His gaze toward Sky Tian had never been so cold, as if he were looking at a complete stranger. "My wife is, and will only ever be, Zara Zhuang." After saying that, he turned and left, getting into the car. Sky Tian chased after him continuously from behind, fell to the ground, and scraped her chin until it bled. But Blakey didn't even glance back. After trying every possible method, only one option remained. Blakey, who hadn't spoken to his father on the phone for years, took the initiative to break the ice and called Father He. Upon learning of the situation, Father He rushed home overnight and flew into a rage. "I was just busy in the military camp, not dead. What have you all been doing behind my back? If anything happens to Zara, I'll cut ties with all of you." He pointed at Mother His nose, gritting his teeth in fury. "If it weren't for Zara's parents saving me back then, it would be you who became the orphan and widow. How dare you force her to divorce?" He glared at Blakey, his eyes filled with murderous intent. "If it weren't for Zara donating her kidney to you despite her health, you'd have had grass growing over your grave long ago." After saying this, he slapped his son, whom he had always held in the palm of his hand. "When your mother was giving birth to you, she had a difficult delivery and without hesitation told the doctor to save the child, not herself. What right do you have to look down on her? And you," he gritted his teeth and pointed at Sky Tien, "you knew full well that my son is already married, yet you still cling to him, and you call yourself a military doctor. Get out of here right now, and don't ever show your face in my house again." Sky Tien opened the door in tears, turning back every few steps, but Blakey never asked her to stay. No one dared to make a sound, not even his son dared to utter a word. Due to being overly emotional, his old ailment struck fiercely and severely. He sat on the sofa clutching his chest, unable to get up for a long time. Blakey seemed to remember something and took out the Chinese medicine I had prepared, looking at the packets of Chinese medicine. "Mister." He couldn't hold back his tears. After opening the package, a neatly written farewell letter fell out. "Dad this is the last time I'll call you Dad. Thank you for taking care of me all these years. I never blamed you for my parents' death. They must have been willing and without regret to sacrifice for a soldier defending the country. My fate with Blake has come to an end. There's no need to force it. The only one I can't let go of is you. Please, you must take good care of yourself and live a long life. Do not ask about my whereabouts anymore. Do not worry about me." Zara Zhuang, 1. Before he had even finished reading the letter, he was already in tears. He raised his hand and flung the letter hard into Blakey's face. "See for yourself what you've done." Blakey scrambled to pick up the letter, his eyes moving anxiously beneath his long lashes as they followed the words, a faint glimmer of tears beginning to show, clutching the letter in his hand. He lowered his eyes and dropped to his knees with a thud before I grew up with him since childhood, and I know all of his pride and dignity very well. He never once asked his own father for anything. Even the glorious achievements he has today were earned step by step through his own blood and sweat. But at this moment, he is kneeling devoutly at his father's feet. "I know I was wrong. I beg you, please help me find her. I will apologize to her in person and beg for her forgiveness." Only then did Father His expression soften slightly. "You'd better mean it." However, Father He contacted everyone in his network who could help, but still came up empty-handed. Having no other choice, he swallowed his pride and called his former superior. A short while later, a call came from the other side. Blakey was full of anticipation, but what he received was a bolt from the blue. The person on the other end spoke with deep sincerity. "Even with my position, I can't find out. You can imagine what's going on. You should understand." Father He immediately understood and slapped Blakey across the face. "You and her have no fate at all. Stop looking for her. Give up on this idea and go back to the army." But Blakey still didn't believe it. He didn't believe that I loved him so much, yet could truly be heartless enough to be separated from him by a great distance. He searched everywhere in the house for traces of my past, and finally, in the storage room, he found a discarded express box containing some documents. Inside were my Peking University admission letter, my gold medal in the mathematical Olympiad, and various certificates of honor from international competitions. It turned out that the person he had always looked down upon was actually so outstanding. I gave up all the honors that came with the spotlight and wholeheartedly took care of this home for him, in the end. It was also him who personally pushed me to a distance I could never reach in this lifetime. 15 years later, The base was infiltrated by spies, and several researchers died under mysterious circumstances. The organization sent its most elite special forces to assist us with the relocation. Even though I tried to act composed, Blake's gaze pierced through the crowd and locked onto me effortlessly. A pair of strong hands suddenly restrained me, tightening their grip. Blake's eyes were moist, his voice trembling. Zara Zhuang, the senior brothers beside him, pushed Blakey away. "What are you doing? She is my wife." A light of having regained what was lost flashed in Blake's eyes, then it was abruptly extinguished by my words. "Take a closer look. I don't know you. And I've never met you before. 5 years of experience have long since rid me of my former timidity. On the contrary, the sharp, elite glint in my eyes is something that cannot be faked." It took him a long time before he finally lowered his eyes gloomily, as if all his strength had been drained from him. "Sorry, I mistook you for someone else. I just miss my wife too much." As he left, he couldn't help but look back at me again and again, reluctant to part. In my previous life, I watched him leave. In this life, he watches me leave, helplessly watching as I slowly disappear from his sight once again, powerless, in pain. Yet there is nothing to be done. I heard that after returning, Blakey applied to carry out an extremely dangerous mission. While carrying out the mission, he channeled all his regret into the strength to kill the enemy. Like an invincible god of war, he repeatedly achieved extraordinary feats, until the moment he died in battle. The only name he murmured was mine. He didn't leave a single word for anyone in the He family, but he left a suicide note for me alone. "My wife, Zara Zhuang, are you doing well out there? I miss you very much. It's been 5 years. What should I do? The more I try to forget, the more uncontrollably I miss you. While eating, while walking, whenever I think of how you gave me a new life, I realize I have broken your heart. I began to hate myself. I wish I could give my life back to you in its entirety. It's as if I've contracted an incurable illness. I had hallucinations of you, unwilling to wake up. When I saw you again, for a moment I thanked heaven for returning you to me, but when you refused to acknowledge me, I finally understood. What was once a regret can no longer be mended. Perhaps only death can bring an end to everything. I am not the kind of person who writes a suicide note. Sacrificing myself for the country is my destiny. By the time you read this letter, I will likely have turned to dust. I will become a star in the sky, or perhaps a piece of data in your computer. I will always protect you, your husband, Blakey. After finishing the letter, I lit it with a lighter. Watching it slowly turn to ashes was like watching the memories I had to let go of fade away. I respect him for his heroic sacrifice for the country, but as my former husband, I will never forgive him. Later, I found out that after I left, Blakey cut off all contact with Sky Tien. Sky Tien had intended to use their son to keep clinging on, but Blakey was so ruthless that he even abandoned his own son. For 5 consecutive years, he never left the military unit for a single day. Later, Sky Tien was discharged from the military for committing a major mistake. With this blemish on her record, no employer dared to hire her no matter where she went. In the end, she had no choice but to return to her hometown. She originally intended to marry a wealthy but uncouth man, only to find out he was an alcoholic. Sky Tien was beaten black and blue every day. The son has become much more sensible and often talks about his mother, his words filled with guilt and regret. At Blakey's funeral, his mother cried until she fainted and was later diagnosed with hemiplegia at the hospital. But all of this has nothing to do with me anymore. I buried myself in calculating the data, immersing in my own world. From now on, I wish to dedicate my heart to China and offer my years to the mountains and rivers.